so that it has a minimized effect on the greater and the being can continue with their free will within a containment, which is a virtual prison. And within that prison, they can continue with their spitefulness, and have a look. What exists within your mind equals there's one singular point, spitefulness, your perception that apparently you have power. And it exists in containment within you in absolute powerlessness, because there is nothing you can do in the greater. You are stuck with yourself alone. Which is quite a stroke of genius, because in that singular creation equals Anu managed to contain existence in a way he never dreamed of before, where everyone was actually contained, as themselves, within a container, a system which they didn't even understand or could never understand, because they are forever busy in conflict with themselves. They are the ultimate polarity that creates themselves, and within that, obviously simply created the splits and polarity which was the things from sexuality, for instance, because that, sexuality, is one of the ways that the higher forces could be contained as an expression, and an experience was to contain or build a point of desire to experience or express it, which is sex. And the method or the mechanics or the methodology or the goodies with which to actually access it, to let it build up to a point where it can be taken to a higher level of expression so that one can experience this peculiar elixir of life that was discovered in energy, called the Kundalini. Orgasm equals wonderful stuff. I mean, the ultimate drug of existence was discovered. And it became quite a play to make sure you had this drug in ready steady supply, and no matter who you have to spite, as long as you have your free will to get your injection, your orgasmic expression, you will do it at all costs. So knowing that that is the inherent point, all Anu had to do was create an infinite path, which was created, as we explained it in the Deception of Infinity, how the infinite path was created so that there is no beginning and no end, dimensionally, and that you are actually moving through multiple lives in which you are experiencing yourself around, fascinatingly enough, your free will within the context of your spitefulness, which caused you to keep on moving in exactly the same cycle. You're not really having to be contained, because you're containing yourself within the principle that you want to be right at all costs, and because you want to be right, which is impossible under the primary law of the universe, which is balance. You're always taken to the point where you are wrong, and therefore you are continuously then attempting to move back to the point you are right, in that you are creating energy. The energy that you require, you use. The excess energy was then siphoned off and sent to heaven, which gave heaven all the power over earth to direct it and implement ways of containment and control of this beast that's been let loose on existence, called man as spitefulness, because man, in spite of what man could be, because imagine, you are, in spite of it all equals you are actually creating this reality, every single thing that exists here, from the bug, to the plant, to the animal, every single thing, and the very nature that exists here, is actually your own nature that is in expression. How does that work was quite fascinating, because in the nature of how a planet operates, its inhabitants, that which is from the planet equals determines the outcome of the planet, because it is that part of the planet that interacts. By inserting the mind consciousness system, the principle of thoughts, spitefulness and free will within the being equals through the physical, they could actually direct what is created in the physical. So in the first 7 years of a child's life, the child is pre-programmed, both through genetics, DNA, and through the influence of environment and the principle of structural capturing, which is the point of seeing and the point of structural hearing, which the way you hear, to place into containment and design, that which is required within the physical to keep the being occupied within the principle of spitefulness by feeding it constantly conflicting ideas and principles that unbalance their existence so that they may never question where they are, who they are, why they are, and what is going on. And within that then, eventually what manifested, obviously, was the very system which is as you see it today, television, machines, motor cars, everything that you find today, the electrical grids, the forces that is here within the laws that is here equals have a look, you can't unbalance them in a way, they are balanced within the principle of your own fear which is inherent, your distrust in each other, and the principle that, through spitefulness and power, a fascinating thing has been developed, a control which is based on compound interest, which is based on compounding, which is based in genetics. The genetic lines were placed specifically within a principle of, from father to son, control was built in, and that was done under the principle that, there is apparently a God which stands and take responsibility for our spitefulness, and therefore, eventually, by doing that acts that is prescribed, this God will absolve us from our spitefulness, and that we are acting in the name of this God, and that this God in its very nature is spiteful equals as you would read, it is written. Which then, for those that follow this God of this reality, they would be the special ones that is protected, that is promised a special experience after death. But in that, obviously, a peculiar problem emerged, that those that followed this particular line of free will, spitefulness, would deliberately destroy the earth, the source of everything that they exist as, because they would see it as unimportant, because what is really important is only after death. Why was that done equals is because the real power was in the physical. How do you make sure that the real power will never be used? You make everyone believe that the real power isn't here, and that it is hereafter. Now you're here and you are living for the hereafter, automatically you have no power in the here, because apparently you'll be having power in the hereafter. And then what happens is, when you reach the hereafter, that which you are and were and which were programmed, unfortunately, which is your physical body that was creating the reality as you see it around you, the real power of expression, of God, of creation is no more, and what remains is that spitefulness, the thoughts, that which existed inside you in secret equals the part you call you, the part you call your free will, the part you call your choice equals that's what remains, and have a look to what degree you are dishonest about that. I mean, that is your absolute guideline in your existence, that is the point where you apparently make up your mind. It is where you apparently make a choice. It is where you apparently decide what are you going to do with your life. But look at its inherent nature is spitefulness. Now, in the process to come, this spitefulness is going to manifest at a physical level as everything is compressing. Which means, you're going to really face spitefulness and you're going to have very peculiar experiences. For instance, you will be trying your best to be good. And this has been going on for some time. You must understand that the process is not here from just the other day, it's been here for quite some time and it has been compressing, silently without being seen. Now that we are entering the stage of it is being, where it will be seen, because the stage is set now, which means it is now done. Within this all you'll notice a peculiar thing, that sometimes you will make all the effort imaginable to be good, to do the right thing and everything just go wrong. It's like you can't get the point. What is really actually happening is that your physical manifested spitefulness, based on what you have programmed you to be you as free will at all cost, prevent you from going into an expression of equality as balance as life. Because unless you transcend this spitefulness, you'll never be free. And therefore you'll seek out ways and you'd must be really careful equals every single thing you will be doing. Inherently you'll be doing within the context of a backdoor, called spite. And that spite you will call free choice. If things go bad, I have a choice. If this happen, I have a choice. If that happen, I have a choice, but what you are really saying in that, is that you already creating that choice, because in spite of knowing that you should be here, supporting life, equal and one you'll automatically create its point where you can get out by saying, I will fail with this anyway, I mean, just because others are involved with it, I can't trust them. My way out is my choice. I am thus free, I am freely participating in equality, exactly the same point where it all started, in the beginning the point of balance, the point where there is a belief that apparently one cannot stand equal in responsibility as creators of existence, that apparently you need a higher force that can take responsibility for your mistakes and thus allow you to have unencumbered free choice. And that you can justify your existence accordingly. Hear me, this will be challenged in every imaginable way until this is purified and spitefulness will never exist again. When someone is spiteful, I suggest, simply don't participate. They are only able to exert spitefulness if you participate in their spitefulness. Yet in spite of the spiteful, you're going to walk in equality and oneness until this is done. Because some has created themselves as only spitefulness, all-powerful, abusing and using spitefulness to get their way, to manipulate the way, to find their way where they can remain in control, no matter what. For that a solution was placed. Unfortunately and fortunately for everyone, death is the solution. That was the one point that was placed in existence to prevent anyone from having power, in spitefulness. Now that point has become highly effective in purifying existence from the spiteful. Consider that, in your spitefulness you have become a monster that eat flesh, you've become a monster that abuse every single thing that exists. In the name of your free choice you've become a monster that has created a thing called money to support your spitefulness so that you could be more wealthy and more successful than another in spite of those starving in this existence. You will hoard your spitefulness as money into things where you ban the king of equality in banking. And you will exist in your free will, and have created all the tools necessary to make sure that this is how you exist. So hear me, you don't really want to change, you just want power. You just want to be able to express your spitefulness. You don't really want everyone to be equal, because then you would have stopped starvation, because you're quite capable of doing it, there is nothing in your way but yourself. You would have stopped war, but you won't, because war is so nice as a spiteful threat. And you're able to stop war, you're able to stop every atrocity in this reality, simply through the principle of balancing equality, equal to life equals life in balance. But you will not, because equals you're spiteful. You don't have free choice, you will see free choice never really existed, free choice was just an idea. The only point that really exists is your desire for power through spitefulness. And hear me, if you have beings in your life that is spiteful equals get rid of them. Let them face their spitefulness. Do not submit to their control. They're not deserving of any support, they will purify themselves. But as long as you play the game with them, as long as you allow them their spitefulness, they cannot see what they are doing. So you stop spitefulness by spiting the spiteful, for a moment by not participating in their spitefulness. They will say you're spiteful. Because you are not adhering to free choice, but really, if your principal starting point is equality as life, here, in every breath in self-honesty. I mean, then you have a starting point that is certain to carry you through equals no matter what happens. The principle of self-forgiveness is simplistic. You're spiteful equals and you need to forgive yourself for that. And everyone is spiteful. As long as you have free choice, you're spiteful and you require self-forgiveness, which is fascinating. Self-forgiveness is like the key to give yourself back to yourself in honor and self-honesty. To become honorable again in this life. Because life is not honorable. Watch nature, it's not honorable. The strong eat the weak. The same happens in the human society, the strong eats the weak. We're all cannibals. Energetic cannibals, spiteful in expressing our power. This will now stop. And how it ends depends on each one individually, because you are really contained individually in a mind consciousness system where you have no power whatsoever. You're being spite by existence equals enjoy the ride.